So, for example, the reserve is the case by you, Randy Abbey. You work with Metro TV. You know that every month you are entitled to 2,000 Ghana cedis. Out of 2,000 Ghana cedis, your total expenditure is 1,000 Ghana cedis. So you are keeping your 1,000 Ghana cedis in your bank account. That is the reserve. But whereby you go and sign in a loan agreement and say that I am taking 100 Ghana cedis, I am coming to use it to build a road. That is the agreement. That is what Parliament has approved. Can you come and divert that money into your bank account?
The government does that every day.
I'm not aware of, unless, Randy, you have evidence. I am not aware of.
ESLA is one of such
I am not aware
of evidence. And when it came to
no, is it using this as a collateral, or they diverted the money into the reserve of the central bank?
No.
You see, there are two different things here, Randy. You see, that's why I don't want us to. Yes. So now to come back to the issue.
Yes.
So you see, that is the reason why you saw inflationary rate in these countries not as high as the inflation that we experience in Ghana. So that's why my brother keeps saying that, okay, the government undertook reckless spending. Be that is made that is true. Does it also mean that in 2012, when the NDC government under the then vice president who had been sworn in as caretaker president, John Dramani Mahama, and within July to December, our expenditure, you remember that during when he was sworn in as acting president, I quote unquote, a lot of supplementary budget went to Parliament. And for that matter, our deficit, which was initially projected to be about 7% of GDP, actually climbed to 11.6% of GDP. Does it mean that John Dramani Mahama was reckless? It's a question I'm putting to you, Randy. Does it mean he was reckless? Is that what he's trying to tell me? It's not true. So that's why I've said that for central bank, in fact, Randy, let me give you an example. Germany had a Fiscal Responsibility Act, you can check. But as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, the act was set aside by the Parliament of Germany until date, so that the Central Bank of Germany could fund government activities.
But this is a bad example, because in Ghana's case, for 2020, the Parliament of Ghana gave an exception to the Central Bank to give money to government beyond what it was. So they did that.
So what was the threshold? Randy, so it's about the threshold. It's not just about.
No, you don't get what. Just please listen to me. In Germany, the Central Bank of Germany did not act contrary to the law. The law was set aside by the Parliament to enable them do what they did. In Ghana, one of the acts was set aside. I don't know if it's still been restored.
It's the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which was actually passed by the NPP government in 2019. Not the NDC.
It doesn't matter.
No, it's fine. Go on. I just want to put information.
It doesn't matter. All I'm telling you is that we are dealing with two things. One has to do with central bank lending, and one has to do with the Fiscal Responsibility Act. The Parliament of Ghana set aside the Fiscal Responsibility Act because of COVID. In the case of central bank lending, there was an exception which was made for that year one, that gave government 10 billion. It had nothing to do with 5% of the previous year's lending. So the law on how much the central bank can lend to government was never set aside by the Parliament of Ghana, contrary to what happened in the case of Germany. So if Germany did what they did because their parliament set aside the law, it was within the law. You can't compare that to the Ghanaian situation.
Is it Randy? That's why I asked you the question about threshold. Okay.
Yes.
If you take what is Ghana's GDP today? Ghana's GDP is over 1 trillion.
Yes.
1 trillion Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Now, if you take 5% of 1 trillion, how much is that?
That's not what the law says.
No.
The law says that lend to government not more than 5% of the previous year's tax revenue. It has nothing to do with GDP. That's what the law is.
Randy.
Unless you have not read it. But that's what the law is.
Okay, Randy. Yeah. So that was why I'm making the point that if government, one of the things we should also get right is that the central bank exists to ensure economic growth and stability.
In conformity with the law.
Obviously.
Yes.
And Randy, let me ask, as a monetary economist, why does the U.S. central bank, why does it always print money to finance the U.S. government's activities? Sometimes even exceeds the threshold that is supposed to be. Why? Because government can never go into a meltdown when the central bank exists.
All right, okay, Doc.
This is basic monetary policy.
Let me bring Sammy into
Doc, you see, my brother is shouting and
that's probably how he speaks. This is the
sure. Banding a lot of economic
That's probably how he
jargons,
speaks.
but he's not addressing the issues. Doc, we are saying that the economic quagmire we were plunged into in 2020, the ramifications of which we are still experiencing, which has occasioned the suffering and hardships we are going through, is largely as a result of the recklessness and the mismanagement of the Bawumia-chaired economic mismanagement team. He is saying that no, it's because of COVID-19 and Russia, Ukraine. Doc, he said that the budget deficit in 2020 was 11.7%, right? And I corrected.
No, but we have dealt with that issue.
Has it now accepted?
No, it's below the line.
So let me give him another evidence so that you won't repeat that claim anywhere again. Doc, page 27 of Bawumia's own lecture. Let me give you the title of the lecture. This was a lecture by Bawumia at the National TESCON Conference, Millennium City, Kaswa, Yesu Krum, 7th April 2022. Doc, 7th April 2022. Page 27, anybody can Google it. When I cite documents, I just want people to authenticate and see that we are talking about facts here. Bawumia has table 4 in his speech. And the title is Fiscal Deficit, GDP percent in selected African countries. Ghana, 2020, 15%. So even Bawumia is quoting 15%. The World Bank says 16%.
That's
so don't say 11%. Now he has moved from that. Okay. Now he says that I am comparing Francophone countries to Ghana. But that was not what I did. I compared Ghana's inflation rate of 54% to inflation rate of other African countries. I was referring to all the 54 countries in Africa. And that is why you heard me mention Nigeria. Is Nigeria a Francophone country?
Okay, but you mentioned Cote d'Ivoire.
Yes, so it was not just Burkina and Cote d'Ivoire, the Francophone countries. I mentioned Nigeria. Okay. What was the inflation rate of Nigeria in 2022? 18.8%. So if we did 54%, you can't say that it is because of COVID or Russia, Ukraine.
Right.
That's number 2.
Okay.
Now, Doc, even on the argument of, don't compare Ghana to Francophone countries, well, totally, I don't
He's given us the reason.
No, he said that, because of floating, exchange rate, blah, 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 and that no economics will compare Ghana. Are you a better economist than Bawumia?
No, you don't understand what
Are you
saying.
a better economist than Bawumia?
They practice PET.
Hold on. Are you a better economist than Bawumia?
What's the point you're making?
Yes.
This is page 27 of Bawumia.
What does it say?
Please, hold on.
Will you say what
I
it
didn't
says?
interject you once.
Doc, hold on.
Yeah,
Bawumia is comparing Ghana to 4 African countries.
Okay.
In terms of budget deficit, page 27 of his lecture. And the African countries include Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay.
Let me take you to page 12 on inflation, what we are discussing today. Page 12. In fact, page 14. Inflation rate in selected African countries. He does the comparison and analysis. You don't have time, I would have read that to you.
Yeah.
He compares that to USA, UK, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. That is the table. What is the meaning of this? Who introduced Cote d'Ivoire and Francophone countries as comparators in Ghana's political discourse? Is it not Akufo-Addo and Bawumia? And today you are coming to sit here propounding, strange economic theories that you can't compare Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire.
It's not strange.
What are you talking about?
His view. It's not strange.
And his view is not borne out by the fact.
That's why I asked him.
Yes.
When that theory, how long it's been existing?
That view is even flawed, inherently flawed. Let me demonstrate that to you.
Right.
You see, you may be an economic lecturer, but you see,
so go to the point.
Look, Doc, inherently flawed. If you claim that high inflation we chopped in Ghana was because of global factors, and that Biden was even affected, then Francophone countries were not an exception. If Biden's America was affected by the factors you were talking about, then the Francophone countries, whether their currency is pegged to the euro or whatever, will not be an exception.
No, you don't understand
so in that same case,
I mentioned the transmission mechanism. That's what I said, right?
I have a master's degree in economic policy.
No, you don't understand it.
I have studied monetary policy just like you. Yes.
What is the transmission mechanism?
Please.
You don't understand it.
Let me talk about. You don't understand.
You don't understand.
I said it happened. I didn't interject you.
a pandemic.
Okay.
And I gave you the case of 1999
Look,
to 1933.
so look at this.
Which altered the gold standard to the dollar.
Chief,
Frank, hold
go
on.
to your lecture, let me try economics. You don't understand it.
Chief.
No, don't come and misquote me and say that what you are saying. You don't understand economics.
Chief.
Monetary I supervise master students.
Chief.
Just like yourself.
Chief.
What do they write?
Chief.
You don't understand the transmission mechanism.
Hold on.
So please don't misquote me.
That's fine.
Quote
You
me
made
well.
your
That's what I say, correct you.
Frank, you made
Don't
a
misquote me.
point.
Look, we are not having a shouting match.
It's okay.
I was
No, but
there
I'll
when you
correct you.
engaged him
No, I'll correct
for
you.
about 10 minutes and you went on and on and on.
I'll correct
You are saying that I compare Ghana to Francophone countries.
Yes.
That is a lie. Relative to inflation, I cited inflation rate in Africa in 2022.
You've demonstrated
And Ghana's inflation rate was the third highest.
You've demonstrated
Nigeria is not a Francophone country. I cited that. You lied.
Right.
Number two, I want to demonstrate to you that in terms of comparing Ghana to Francophone countries, it is Bawumia who knows economics better than you who taught us that. And I have read his economic lectures where he compares Ghana's inflation rate to that of Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana's budget deficit to that of Cote d'Ivoire. So if you are saying that Bawumia Bonwa, say so. Okay. Now again,
can we move to?
No, hold on, Doc. I beg you. He had 10 minutes. Let's deal with this.
No.
Doc, I beg you. I'll do this in 2-3 minutes. Sure, no problem.
For the youth manifesto.
Look, he sat here here right now. You see, when they pretend as if they know everything, they end up even contradicting themselves. During his first submission, he stated that the economic challenges we experienced in 2015-2016 was without exogenous shocks. Didn't you hear him say that? Then he sits here again, second submission, or say Ghana, our export earnings has to do with our commodities, our good oil. What happened in 2015-2016 with our commodity prices? Whether it was oil or gold or cocoa, total collapse of international commodity prices. And you sit here, you say you supervise master students, and you tell us that exogenous factors did not affect Ghana's economy. What are you talking about? Then again, let me educate you on the law. Master, let me make my point. Let the viewers judge. Let the viewers judge. Let me make my point. Let the viewers judge. Master, I did not interject you. You keep on interjecting me, and I can do that better than you.
I don't care.
So let me make my point. Let me make my point.
I spoke about pandemic.
Let me make my point. It is my time. Why are you interjecting me?
During the era of the NDC.
Stop this.
That's what I said.
Stop this.
Why are you screaming? It is my time.
Pandemic resulted in this exogenous impact. That is where I made my argument from.
Frank, please.
When you were speaking, I didn't utter a word. When you were speaking, I didn't utter a word.
Guys,
how did I misquote you?
That is what you are. That's what I'm correcting you.
You said that they
as a result of the pandemic.
What as a result of the pandemic?
I gave you the cost of free.
Don't put us together.
Frank,
I didn't interject once. This is my time to speak.
I won't sit here. I know Sammy Gyamfi.
Please listen to me.
I know what he can do. I won't sit here for you to.
What I can do? Do I kill people?
Can you listen to me?
Am I a killer? What
so
can
please
I do?
correct him.
Can you listen to me?
Yes, I'm
What do you
listening
want
to
me to correct him about?
You see, I said that as a result of the pandemic, it resulted in exogenous impact. And I gave the case of freight, which was $1,300 before. And it went to about $8,800. And I gave so that if anyone goes to buy something, okay, if anyone goes to buy something, the person will now factor in the cost of this 8 times change.
Are you saying, Frank, are you saying that you did not say in your submission that in 2015, when inflation went up that way, there were no exogenous factors?
I was referring to the pandemic and the Russian.
No, but you didn't say that.
That's what I was
This
referring
man,
to.
why are you doing this?
Say that.
Why are you lying on national TV? But you didn't say it.
But for me, I have absolute clarity.
Doc, what is the meaning of this? Doc,
that's what I was referring to.
Doc, I think you're not being fair to me. I have not, since we started this program, I have not interjected him once.
That's fine, just go on.
But he does this repeatedly. He's shouting on top of his voice, and the impression is created that all of us are being, no. You stated categorically that the economic challenges we had in 2015-2016 was without exogenous. And for you, those of you who don't understand, it was without external factors. Yes. You are saying you meant the pandemic. So we should have entered your head to know what you meant. That we are talking about what you said on the platform. Right. And I am saying that if commodities prices, gold, cocoa, oil, collapsed in 2015-2016, and that is a fact, you can't say that exogenous factors did not affect our economy.
Right.
Then he doesn't even understand the laws he's quoting. Doc, the fiscal responsibility, when we talk about the financing of central government by the Bank of Ghana, it's got nothing to do with Fiscal Responsibility Act.
I said fiscal, that there are two separate.
But he was still confusing it. So let's give the education for the public to understand. The Fiscal Responsibility Act is an act about fiscal policy. The finance minister is the one with oversight over that. Okay? And it is about the budget deficit not crossing a threshold of 5%. So in emergencies, the Parliament of Ghana can increase the threshold. Yes. You understand? When it comes to the central bank printing money to finance government, it is a function of the Bank of Ghana Act, Section 30. It's got nothing to do with fiscal responsibility under the finance minister. And when it comes to the Bank of Ghana Act, the only way you can exceed the threshold of 5%, not of deficit, but of the revenue of the previous fiscal year, is when there is a tripartite meeting between the governor, the Ministry of Finance, and so on, and they decide to revise the threshold and inform Parliament. That is what Section 30 says. We have discussed this here times with that number.
Governor, Minister, Controller.
Governor, Minister, Controller. They meet to revise the threshold of 5% of the total revenue of the previous fiscal year, and they inform Parliament. That is Section 30, I believe, subsection 6 of the Bank of Ghana Act. So when you are sitting here citing Germany, okay, giving its government a special reprieve on fiscal responsibility, you have deviated. You don't even understand what you're talking about. So, Doc, the bottom line here is that this government was reckless in its expenditure in 2020. He came here and peddled falsehood that the deficit was 11%. The IMF says it is 16%. And Bawumia himself says in his lecture that it is 15%. And that 15% budget deficit was one of the highest in Africa, which therefore showed that the problem was recklessness and mismanagement, and not any of the global factors he cited.